here we go. Hey.
Tuia mai kana he o te kaunahira o Kirikiri Road. Whaia te iti kahirangi kia kia mau, kia ita, haumia huia tai.
Thank you. So we've got apologies. I've got a partial apology for the Deputy Mayor for late arrival. I've got I think an early departure for Councillor Casey Cox, and I've got an early departure for Councillor Hutt and Councillor Sarah. I also note that Councillor Sarah hasn't turned up yet, so apologies for lateness. Oh, is she online? Oh, well, there you are. Sorry, I didn't see you. I saw Anna. So I've moved the apology, seconded by Councillor Jeff. All those in favour say aye. For what? Yep. Thank you very much. I'm hoping that might not be necessary. All those in favour say aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Confirmation of the agenda is as listed. You've got the run sheet. I'll move, seconded by Councillor Jeff. All those in favour say aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Declaration of interest. No declarations. Great. Public forum. There is no public forum. Colleagues, item 5 now. Confirmation of the Economic Development Committee open meetings minutes of the 29th of July. I'll move, seconded by the Deputy Councillor Maria. All those in favour say aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Colleagues, the Chair's report, I'll take it as read. Other than to say, obviously, this is my last meeting as the Chair and of my political career. So I want to say thank you particularly to the governance staff. Amy, you've been amazing throughout a decade or so. And of course, my colleagues, thank you for working so well together for the last 3 years. So other than that, I'll move the report, seconded by Councillor Maria. Councillor Jeff.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I think we can't let your last meeting as Chair go by without acknowledging the job that you've done in the position. And I think your work as Chair has just been exemplary, and the staff with you have been magnificent as well. And I mean, the endowment fund, the re-establishment of that, the rehydrating of that, as you say, to me has been one of the really significant marks of this council, and the direct impact that you see out of that. But I also think about a whole array of stuff, including, I think about the face-to-face meetings that staff have with businesses, and which I think helps to gain us a level of trust, which is much needed, particularly with many issues such as rates going on. So I just want to congratulate you on that. I think now we have obviously a final council meeting to talk about your long, illustrious career as a councillor, so I won't go into all of that, but I just want to congratulate you as Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. Similar to Jeff, I have the same comments to make, so he said that part. I will add that you are not escaping. We will still contact you for advice on the airport in particular, and the Municipal Endowment Fund. So, don't give up on us completely. Thank you.
Mayor Southgate.
Thank you. I had hoped to get it a bit first off the rank, but I didn't quite make it. But here I am. on the podium, wanting to also say to you thank you very much for the leadership you've shown in the economic development space. I feel quite proud of the progress that we have been able to make under your leadership of this chairmanship, under your chairmanship, in particular with some of the work around the Municipal Endowment Fund, etc., but also pushing out further opportunities for things like the hotel that you've stood by me and our brokerage of the hotels and other business opportunities for Hamilton. So thank you very much. And also for the work that you did in the sister cities and have continued to do. Most people won't realise that you've still been working on that until now, trying to maximise the best economic value from those relationships that we've established. So I think you leave the council in good order in those things. I hope that this committee and the sister city work will prevail and go from strength to strength. So thank you for what you've started.
Emma.
Ewan. I also want to thank you for your leadership as chair in the Economic Development Committee. Thank you for your dedication and your commitment to this role. You've always pushed for some bold ideas but always kept the outcomes and the people that really matter and the heart of what you do. I've really admired not just your energy and your passion and your love for aviation, but whether it's hotels or theatres or jet flights, you've always been determined to see Hamilton flying high. So thank you for your vision and your leadership and your heart for this city, and your work will keep Hamilton soaring well into the future.
Thank you, Eva. That's very good. Thank you. Councillor Tim.
Chair Ewan. I'm not sure I can get as many puns into what I'm about to say, and I'm also aware of the fact that we're possibly starting to sound like cracked records, but I do want to echo the words of Mayor Paula and Councillors Jeff, Emma and Andrew, and possibly others to come, in acknowledging you. Three things I would like to comment on. One is that I've always been impressed by the way in which you chair these meetings, because I think that both for these meetings and every other meeting, I'm always conscious that you are thoroughly prepared. You do show the hallmarks of being a governor who understands the responsibility we have to come well prepared, sometimes to ask challenging questions, to ensure that we can reach the best decisions. And I've admired that. And if I'm here, I will miss that in the next council. And I hope someone will come along to fill those shoes. So well done for the way you run the meetings. Second thing is, I have always appreciated in the 18 months that I've been a councillor the advice that you have offered me. As an experienced councillor, your wisdom has been helpful, even when I haven't necessarily asked for it, and even when we haven't necessarily agreed. I have always respected the thought that has gone into your contributions. I always listen to you with respect, and I've learned a great deal from you in my time on council. And the third thing is, I think that the legacy of the Municipal Endowment Fund that you have built up is of huge significance to our city. I'm a great fan of endowment funds. My hope is that 10 years from now, the MEF will be considerably higher, because that will give us the opportunity to play our role in promoting further significant economic development without having to reach into the pockets of our ratepayers. So I commend you for the vision that you have shown and the determination that you have demonstrated in building it up. I think it's one of your greatest legacies, for which all Hamiltonians are in your debt.
Very kind. Councillor Maria.
Councillor Ewan, you must always give credit where credit is due, and I want to acknowledge my first week here in Chambers. You were the first councillor to actually show me around the Chambers, how things worked, down to the microphones, where the code of conduct book is. And also the different tikanga or protocols that we needed to follow within the House, and no one else did that, but you did that for me, and I want to thank you for that. I want to thank both you and Blair for your guidance, care and advice during our trip in Chengdu. Also for your faith in me to be able to chair our committee in your absence. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. I also want to wish you well in your new role as a steward for our environment. Go well. There is a saying, whatu ngarongaro te tangata, toi tū te whenua. When people are lost, the land will remain, and that's going to be one of your main responsibilities in your new role. So go well. I also want to take this opportunity to just mention a couple of key messages that Te Ariki Nui Queenie Ngā Waihonui Te Pō announced in her address last Friday in terms of economic aspirations for our country and our city of Kirikiriroa, Hamilton. There was 2 initiatives that she announced. The first one was Ohanga Ki Te Ao. Ohanga means economy, and that is a summit that is going to be taking place here in our backyard towards the end of the year, so watch this space. Her second announcement was a seed funding to provide support to different business initiatives from iwi Māori entities that have come together to bring this tahua kotahitanga is what it's called. It's not a deep fund, it's worth about $30 million, but it's it attributes to her aspirations to bring people together and kotahitanga and unity, and the contribution that other iwi have made to that fund in the absence of that funding that has been lost recently towards Māori initiatives. So that's quite exciting, and I wish you well.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah.
Thank you, Chair. I also just want to acknowledge your work as Chair of the last term, and also that of recent Deputy Chair, Councillor Maria. Chair Ewan, I want to wish you all the best with your new endeavours. I know that you'll do an excellent job in your new role, and it's well suited after all of the work you've done on various plan changes here on behalf of Hamilton City Council. And also want to acknowledge the work of the Municipal Endowment Fund working group that you've led, which has included some investments into quite meaningful projects for the city, including the Bridge Housing Trust development on Tristram Street and the support for the theatre development, adjacent developments to the theatre as well. So there's some city shaping and meaningful projects in there. So of course, it's not the end of the term yet, but I wanted to acknowledge your work.
Thank you very much, colleagues. It's been moved and seconded by Councillor Maria. All those in favour say aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Okay, so item 7, the General Manager's report. Young Blair.
Thank you, Chair Ewan, and good morning, councillors. Just a few updates, verbal updates following to my report. So, as Chair Ewan and his Chair's report has covered off, this committee focused on a number of key outcomes to improve the economic wellbeing of Hamiltonians. And Chair Ewan has actually given a very good summary of those in his report, so I won't look to repeat that. But I must say that I think we have really, really lifted the bar in terms of a focus on economic development in this triennium, and I think this committee needs to take a really sense of pride around the work that they've done to really focus on that. In terms of looking into the future and we think about economic development, just some context. Businesses from a range of industries choose to establish themselves or expand around Hamilton for a number of advantages, particularly the strategic advantages that the city provides around talent attraction, market access, location and operational efficiencies, and I don't think we should overlook that. At a city level, our workforce is actually distributed statistically across a number of categories such as professional services, education, healthcare, manufacturing, construction and retail trade. And I think that's one of the successes of Hamilton, that we aren't just dependent on one particular sector. There are a number of sectors that underpin our economy. We have chosen as a team to focus on those sectors that most align with our strengths as a city and, in our view, provide the potential to generate business investment and job growth. And so those are technology and innovation, logistics, manufacturing, education and healthcare as the preeminent sectors that we have leaned into. And later in today's agenda, you're going to be hearing some updates from Professor Quigley in terms of the university, in terms of the work that they are doing. So that is an example of one sector where, although it's education, it also heavily leans into the technology space, and so the work that we've been doing with the Hiko Hub is a good example of where we are partnering closely with the university to foster those relationships. Businesses and their employees operate in a boundaryless way, and that really contributes to our economic growth and our strengths. And you've seen that through information through to Chair Sarah's committee as well, where we've talked about the flow of people to and from the city and the Metro Hamilton area. In terms of the future-proof area, that's the four councils of Hamilton, Waikato, Waipa, Matamata, Piako. That's home to nearly 400,000 people, and that generates $26.5 billion of economic activity, which is 75% of the entire Waikato's GDP. So, we are very much in this metro area, the home of the Waikato engine in terms of economic development, and a critical part of New Zealand's economic story. And I guess our location in terms of being equidistant between Tauranga and Auckland, and our growing role as a sort of logistics centre of excellence is also underpinning that story. So looking ahead, it's really important that we do maintain our progress and the momentum that we've built under this committee. And that's going to be things such as continued prioritisation and investment in our relationships with the business leaders across the key growth sectors, and that's the work that Arif has been championing. Taking proactive efforts to really work with the relevant sectors, such as tech and the Tron, such as the education sector, such as showcasing our strengths, such as the work that we're doing at the airport. And also, I think, leadership across the sub-region in terms of economic development partnerships. So that's working with our fellow ED professionals and the other councils to really embed and unite and align around how we can grow and develop the economic engine of the Waikato. So, councillors, whatever the structure of the future council and committees will be, it is my view that the work that we're doing in economic development will remain a critical pillar of that council, and that we want to build on the efforts that this committee and Chair Ewan has championed in this triennium. So, with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Colleagues, any questions of Blair for item 7? You'll find the recommendation on page 15. It is simply to receive the report. No questions? All right, I'll move, seconded by Councillor Maria. Colleagues, any debate? Okay, no debate. I will say a couple of words. I just want to come in behind and support wholeheartedly what Blair has said in terms of the importance of the Economic Development Committee going forward. And I would encourage whoever is the next mayor, whether it's Tim or Sarah or Maria, that the economic development portfolio is a must. Driving economic growth is a critical mechanism to ensure sustainable growth in this city. And so whether it's us trying to champion attracting new hotels, whether it's us working with the university, whether it's us working in sister cities, all of those things help to underpin economic growth. So I would really encourage the next mayor and council to ensure the economic portfolio is centre of our focus. And my final comment on that would be how blessed we are to have so many talented and capable staff. Whether it's Blair as GM or Mike as manager, Arav and Martin, the work that is being done is meaningful, it's impactful, and it's actually driving growth, which drives good paying jobs, and it all just cascades down from there. So please, colleagues, maintain the economic development, maintain the commitment to the work that's needed, because it's critical. Other than that, I'll move seconded. All those in... Oh, sorry, Mayor Paul, I can see you're about...
I was going to just speak in debate, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Just want to endorse all the comments that Ewan has made about the importance of this work and where it sits. The success of Hamilton through these economic turbulent times has been in its diversity of economy. And you will recall the economic reports that come out yearly. We have performed better than large parts of the country, and I think that's because we don't put all our eggs in one basket, that we do look for opportunities that are broad. But I also want to give a big shout out to our very innovative business community for working with us, because we have got some serious talent here in Hamilton, Kirikiriroa, leading the way globally and locally with their thinking and their entrepreneurial ideas. And I think we need to grow that. As New Zealand's fastest growing city, we are going to face the pressures of costs going forward, and the only way to combat that is by having a robust economy to support it. Particularly, we often get a little bit of pushback when you talk about sister cities, but the opportunities in countries where we have our sister cities, China, Japan in particular, where we've forged those deeper relationships, are huge. Whether you're talking about alternative energies or alternative methods of construction, even the more modular types of lower cost construction, all of those are available. Not to mention Ewan's passion around aviation and adjacent to aviation activities like low altitude aviation and those kind of things. There is absolutely no reason that Hamilton couldn't be at the forefront of these things. You've just got to have that mindset about going after new business, and so thank you for the work again you've done, Ewan. And yes, I do believe the council should keep this as a focus in the next term. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, colleagues, so it's been moved and seconded. We've had debate. All those in favour? Those against?
Carried unanimously.
Wonderful. Gosh, we're running slightly ahead of schedule, which is great. Item 8, external agencies. Matt.
Good morning, everyone. Kia ora.
Morning.
So I'm here this morning to introduce Vanessa Williams, General Manager of Hamilton Central Business Association, and Mike Neal, Director of NAO Harcourts. Vanessa would normally be presenting her 6-monthly report for to June 30th, 2025, and her audited accounts. We've got a slight change in programming today, so we're going to take the report as read. Vanessa is happy to take any questions, and then hand over to Mike for a CBD presentation, which will be exciting. So without any more preamble, I'll hand over to Vanessa and Mike, and we can go from there, unless there's any questions.
Welcome, Vanessa and Mike. We're in your hands.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors. I'm going to hand over to Mike today and sit back and watch.
I'm presuming you've got the PowerPoint presentation?
It has been shared, and it should come up on screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Vanessa asked me to do this for the recent AGM for Hamilton Central Business Association, because we see so much happening in the CBD, and everyone there said, I didn't know this was happening, I didn't know this, and that was sort of the reason for it. But, you know, HCBA really is a passionate advocate for the CBD, so it's important to share these things. Yes, you can go to the next slide. So I'll just give you an overview of what really what's been happening, and it's on all fronts. You know, we've got a world-class theatre ready for completion. It'll be operating January 26, 1,300 standing and seated. We've got Live Nation confirmed for the CBD, which is amazing. What they will bring is staggering, and it obviously gives a lot of confidence to the CBD and to Hamilton. The second one is the Bridge Housing Trust, the Hinimara Apartments, where there'll be 42 entry-level apartments. They'll be completed late 26. One bedroom's the 510,000, two bedrooms 635, which I think is great. The next one on there is Building B at Union Square, which we started probably about 6 weeks ago with construction of that. We have Tetra Pak, who are moving out of Innovation Park, moving into the CBD, taking 2 floors. We've got ACOM going into the building as well, who missed out on the previous building because we ran out of space for them. They've waited basically 4 years, looked at everything, said no, we want to be in Union Square. It really is exciting. We've got 2 more buildings to go. If you go to the next one, we look at 500 Victoria Street, which the old former ASB building, which is in a really terrible state. we had a government department that was going to go near take 2 floors. The commissioner came up from Wellington, walked into it, saw the roof leak, said, nah, we're not going here. I talked to the owner, I said, we're not going, there's too much reputational risk to take other people into this building until you're actually prepared to do something. So they're recladding the whole external, they're putting end-of-trip facilities in there, there'll be EV charging, it'll be 5-star neighbours, and they'll seismically strengthen to 100% new building standard. Then we look at 18 London Street next door to us that Stark Property is doing. They've extended the ground floor lobby. We've got the coroner's office going in there. They've been in a temporary accommodation for 10 years. They're doing their fit out now. You've got O Studio in there. Again, end-of-trip facilities, bike charging. It's interesting with Matt Stark. Pretty much every building he buys, he spends more doing up than he does buying it in the first place. And they're also doing Fonterra, the North Block at the moment, which you'll see as you go past, just over 3,000 square metres of space being refurbed. And again, it's interesting, the refurbishment for existing to get a carbon neutral building as opposed to new build, which really struggles. And Fonterra, when they originally came to market, said we want new build and we want carbon neutral, but you can't have it. So, and he'll do a magnificent job there. Then you look at the new Pullman Hotel, the tower building, which I think, what I love about it is everybody, every day can walk past and look up and you can see people on site and you keep windows going in and joinery coming out. That's, I think, is really important. I think we've always seen, you see these propose this and propose that and things don't happen. We actually need to see it to believe it. 191 room, $100 million, it'll be a 4 to 5 star hotel with 2 levels of basement. We've got about 1,500 square metres of office and the rest will be hotel space. And we're also seeing a lot in healthcare space, which I think is really quite interesting. And until I put this together, I didn't realise it. 19 Knox Street, which is Anglesey Hospital. They're doing a partnership with Evolution Healthcare. They'll be adding another 6,000 square metres to this building, which will be completed in 28, circa 70 odd million worth, which I think is great. And it's, went from a day surgery in 2007 to having really advanced operating theatres now and into the future. We have just sold a building at 856 Victoria Street to TUI Medical, who are committing their fit out at the moment, and they'll be in there sort of November. But again, they're committed to the CBD. And then you'll see the former Z station on Anglesey Street opposite the courts has been bought by 2 orthopaedic surgeons who are putting a new building on there. Again, it's really sort of creating a precinct for a lot of the southern end of the CBD. And then we see some other sort of tenant moves that have gone on. The former Gateway Church, it's now unconditional. McDonald's will be demolishing the building. They'll be using probably 2/3 of the site, and we get a new McDonald's. Personally, I'm not overly elated about it, but it is what it is. But I'm quite excited to see City Fitness going into the former JB Hi-Fi building in Barton Street, and they should be operating sort of mid next year. They're a large player, and again, we've got so much of sort of fitness and health going on in the CBD. And BP Software, that's actually an interesting story. They came to us about 18 months ago. They were down in Grantham Street and said, we're going to get out of the CBD, we're going to take smaller space and we're going to move out to sort of Ruakura or the university. They then came back probably 6 months ago and said, no, we've had a whole change of plan. We're going to stay in the CBD and we want more space. And so they've taken the form of stuff tenancy. They do a lot of software for medical centres, so they've obviously seen some of the benefits there. We've got some fantastic developers in Hamilton, like amazingly so, and they do some amazing projects. And they do face a lot of challenges along the way, so I think it's, hands up to them. They take the risk every day. And I think, Ewan is 100% right. How do we attract more economic development to Hamilton and Waikato, because one feeds the other and it's just so important. And then I'll give you just an update on the next 2. These were hot off the press about 10 days ago. You look at the latest CBD office survey, where vacancy fell from 9% to 6.4%. But I think interestingly, we've got 37,000 square metres of office space under redevelopment. This is not new build, this does not include Union Square, this is under redevelopment. And I think that's a massive, tick for the CBD. and we do need that because we were pretty poor a few years ago. And when you look at our vacancy rate now, 6.4, Auckland's 18.8, Wellington is 14.3, and Christchurch is 8.8. So we're doing well, but we've also got a lot of really active developers prepared to punt things. Yeah, they do projects that are completely unbankable. You look at Made over in Hamilton East, completely unbankable. Nobody else would ever have done that. So we're very fortunate to have these sort of people. But then the challenge, and again, this is CBD retail, and boy, it is tough out there. You talk to any retailer, there's not a single one of them will tell you how it's going. We had a 15-year low in June 22 of 5.5%. We're now up to 10.9. You know, but it is, you know, we've got a lot of hotel, cultural, office and residential developments, but we're also seeing, I think we're talking the office board, I think we've done 6 retail leases in about the last 3 weeks, all outside the CBD, moving into the CBD. We've had a couple of travel agents, well-known travel agents. We've had a tech company move back in. We've got some guys that do football gear, again, outside moving in town. So we are seeing people start to move in. So we just need to, we need to make it easier for them, and we need to create an environment where they actually want to be in town.
Thank you very much. Vanessa, I wonder if you'd like to take the opportunity to speak to your presentation or the salient points.
In terms of some good news, I will say with the Love the Centre rebrand that we have done, going out with a public-facing brand, we're getting about 5,000 people visiting our website a month that are going to see what promotions are happening in town, where to eat, where to go, reading about the stories of the businesses. So it's been fantastic to be able to see that activity that people are wanting to see in town. And we also have become a Main Street Australia finalist in their awards,
well done,
which are being held next Wednesday. So that has been really exciting to keep going out there with that Love the Centre brand. And yeah, I mean, there is some good things happening. Obviously, the development that Mike's talking about is fantastic to be able to walk around and see that happening. We do know that it is still a very tough environment out there for businesses on the ground, and we're doing all we can to support and promote them. But we are sort of waiting for that light at the end of the tunnel to stop being a train and to actually be the light at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, we think we're sort of heading toward that at the end of 25, hopefully, and obviously going into what we would say would be our event season, and just a pick-up of that activity around the town. So spring, summer does bring that.
Right. So colleagues, Vanessa has attached, we've got the 6-monthly report, the HCBA presentation and the annual audited accounts. There's a lot of information that is there for us to have read. Can we open it up for questions? I have Mayor Paula.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mike and Vanessa, for all that you do to champion the CBD. Mike, a couple of questions about the property. What do you think is contributing to the uptick in, you've mostly shown as the commercial side of property. Yep. What's leading to the uptick in that, and what do you think are the risks in it? Are there any risks we should be mindful of?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it was actually interesting. I was in Dunedin in the weekend, and I looked at what council have done with George Street down there, and they've done an amazing job. And I think we should all be looking at that as an example. But I look at it and go, they haven't got the quality of developers we have, but they've done a really good job in their streetscape. And I think we're very lucky you've got the bones of that, and these people are committed to it. The worst developments I've seen in Hamilton are actually generally done by out-of-town developers. They get in, they get out. I look at the PwC building as an example, and you've got manual opening doors to a really impressive office building. Why would you cut a cost like that? The local people don't do that. So I don't think there's risk from the locals. I think they're really supporting it. But I do think there's a risk around, it is streetscape and it's antisocial behaviour. That's the challenge. If we could solve those two things, I think everybody would walk and feel and go, this is really, you know, it's that's the challenge, I think, is that people just get fed up.
I know that's a key issue. I was just thinking from a commercial risk point of view too. You were saying that some of these developers, and I agree we've got doing unbankable projects. That speaks to me of some sort of risk as well, financial risk of falling out of buildings, not being able to be let, or not meeting the need, or I'm just asking, should we be concerned about that? Because it's good to see so much happening. Should we be concerned?
I think what you see there, it's so broad. It's not just office, it's healthcare, it's everything. It's retail, it's fitness. I think we've got a very broad attraction here at the moment. The theatre will be amazing. That will bring a different type of people in here. You know, you've got Union Square. We haven't had new buildings in a long time. We've created a precinct. I think it's so broad. The other thing is that the developers, consciously or subconsciously, they actually work together. Some will go, let you finish your projects, then we'll do ours. But it's broad, you know, we see the housing trust. That's the thing that gives me confidence. If we were sector specific, it would worry the hell out of me.
Okay, thank you. And just on that, I know, I'm not sure if I can ask you this, but in terms of residential development,
there's some going on. I was talking to Mike Kelleher. He owns a big chunk of land down Clarence Street, and I think there's less confidence around the housing at the moment. There's more confidence in the lower end of the market, but to do something better, they're going, will people pay for it? We're bouncing along. I think that's a much harder conversation to have around the residential. But, you know, we've got Wintec Residential Trust want to do more around student accommodation, particularly for overseas students. But a lot of those projects aren't bankable, and a lot of those developers aren't prepared to take a punt. They've got to make $1 out of it.
I'll talk to you offline about that later. And just in terms of one other thing, sorry, and I don't want to make this a leading question. Council had CBD remissions. Were they helpful? Is this the tail end of seeing the benefit, some of that, or not?
I think if you talk to any developer, they go, look, it's nice to have, and it maybe allows us to do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, it's not the thing that says we're going to do a project or we're not going to do a project. But it does help. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. Mike, just digging into some of these numbers a little bit more, the retail vacancy from 22 to 25 going up from 5% to 10.9. How much of that is Hospo that's been affected?
Hospo?
I'm going to say Hospo is an interesting one because although there may be some that have fallen over, it still is probably one of the leading sectors to open up at ground level.
Good.
So
and that's worldwide. Worldwide, that's the growing element of it. They're probably finding it tougher than anyone in terms of retail or hospo, but the thing they have in their favour, and we've got one where Refill Joe's was down the South End, we've had so much inquiry on that. There's already an existing kitchen fit out in place, and that saves you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So while they're the ones that are most likely to fall over, they're also more likely to find someone to go back in.
Good. The A-grade office space, 1% vacancy. Are we missing out on opportunities because of a lack of A-grade space?
No, my personal opinion, and again, I look at Europe where they're redeveloping existing buildings and the whole carbon neutral thing. There's only a certain amount of tenants that will pay an A-grade rental for a new build, which is now approaching 500 a metre. If you can do refurbed, and I look at 18 London Street next door to us, it's sort of, you know, 350 a metre, it's actually much more cost effective. And when you look at the type of tenants we generally have in Hamilton, it probably fits them better. It also, at the moment, fits government better to come in, more cost effective, it's a better look for us. So I think our real key is, and I look at the stuff that Matt Stark and, you know, Foster's to a degree have done with existing. It's out of this world. So it's very much sector specific. I think we're about right on A-grade.
Okay, that's good. Final question is on apartment opportunities. Hamilton's looking at investing a lot of infrastructure, water supply, things like that. Is there the demand for apartment spaces?
Talking to some of the developers around it, they say there is, but it does tend to be at the slightly lower end. That's where but it's like Matt Stark when he started. He said, let's refurb a building and let's see if we can get $250 a metre. There was no market. There was nothing that said that would stack up. I do believe there is a market out there for those better projects. but it's a little bit untested. I mean, you've got Cook Street over in Hamilton East, you've got the ones on the corner of, what was Von Temsky?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are seeing it, but I think you've got to find the right site, do the right development. There are people looking, but it's just got to be the right product.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Councillor Maria.
Hey, kia ora korua, kia ora Vanessa, and acknowledgements for the award nomination and for the increased views to the website. Excellent. Mike, you mentioned that a couple of businesses have returned to the CBD, the travel agents,
Yep.
the guys selling football,
Yep.
why is that?
That's a really good question. I think they can see what's slowly starting to happen in the CBD. You know, they can see the Pullman, they can see the fair, they can see all these sort of things. I think also when you look at what some of the paying in the suburbs, and they're newer builds, but they can be paying 400 a metre. They can come into town now and lease something at 250 a metre. And they probably get better pedestrian count. They may not quite be the destination they were, but they get a better pedestrian count in town. Yeah, they just all sort of see it. It's really surprised me.
And it's quite interesting, I will say, particularly for the travel agent, it's an expansion, and it's really nice to have that suburban expansion into town. And the same thing with a few of the ground floor tenancies that have come in lately have been either expansions locally or from out of town. So that is a growing area, and I think we get highlighted as having quite a bit of activity that's we're on the cusp of more and more. That is quite inspiring to people to come in for.
Positive news, thank you.
Councillor Cash.
Thank you. Just lots of positive energy. I can feel it. And I'm just interested in, we've heard so much negative stuff in probably the last 6 months in terms of CBD and antisocial behaviour and all of that. I'm just interested in the conversations you're having with prospective tenants and new businesses coming in, and how they are feeling from your view.
I mean, I'll start and then hand over to Mike, but that is a reality, and as much as particularly myself holds a PR role going out and saying great things, we also are cognisant of the fact that there are businesses that are suffering due to antisocial behaviour, and we can't dismiss that. It's a very real experience that is being had. So we keep, often having those conversations, which is a real shame.
The higher quality the tenant, the more questions they will ask around that, and the more concerned they are. One of the travel agents, Vanessa, helped us with quite a lot of work on that. They were going, do we actually come into town? Because they were very concerned about particularly antisocial behaviour, also streetscape and things. That's had an impact. They're probably the two real keys. Your lesser quality tenants, they are more concerned about what are my rental levels, and it's a different conversation.
And can I just ask one question, just for your opinion? If there was, because it's the last meeting, and I can ask this because I'm leaving. If there was one thing that you could think of that's in council's power, or to help improve things and make it even more positive, what would it be?
We'll have a different, but you go. I'll go first. I went to George Street, to George Street in Dunedin, streetscape. Council have done a magnificent job of probably a 400 metre stretch of, I look, if we did that to Victoria Street, I go, you just felt so good about it. And I look at what's being developed. I phoned Vanessa and said, I reckon developers must be really disappointed when they see what they're doing and what our streetscape looks like. That was my one thing when I looked at George Street and go, oh, it was so good, and yet we've got wonderful developers.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I would say the same. I was going to say our front door, which is Victoria Street. And, we have got some good quality destination, particularly hospo, down Victoria Street. But you walk down the street and the pavements, it is not an environment that's particularly inspiring.
And it needs to be a complete plan, not just we'll change a bit of furniture here and there. We've got to have a plan, and let's just do it.
Thank you.
Councillor Sarah.
Thanks, Vanessa and Mike. I'm just interested in, you talked about George Street and Victoria Street, so And from listening to conversation, you would focus your efforts in terms of any substantial streetscape improvements on Victoria Street?
Yeah, I mean, I do think Victoria Street is our front door. It's where we've got the predominance of hotels, so it's where people are traversing when they're visiting, as well as it's got, you know, a majority of our hospo, so majority of our nightlife. I do think that that's the first cab off the rank.
When we get people from out of town and they come into the office, that's all they talk about is Victoria Street. We saw this on Victoria Street because that's how they're coming in, and you're all your local as well. That is your absolutely your front door.
And like I understand, or I didn't follow it really closely, but there was quite a lot of you know, backlash and controversy at the time around George Street, and it was and it was probably quite a disruptive project. How do you see us? What would you envisage in terms of you know, an approach that keeps people on board, and that local businesses can support in you know, how we manage things like disruption during a construction period, if we were to consider something like that?
Like most things, it's about communication.
In advance.
Yeah.
In advance. It's all about communication. You can get away with anything, I've learned, if you communicate.
Maybe nearly.
And also, I'm gonna also go for learning some of the lessons, or finding out some of the stuff that's happening around New Zealand and other places. Personally, I've been privy to a discussion up in Warkworth about a piece of machinery they're currently having built in Germany that Watercare has purchased and bringing over, and it's a tunnelling machine that allows for digging up underground to actually stop the level of disruption at street level. You know, it has the ability to turn corners and go for about 1.5 kilometres. This piece of machinery is due in early next year, and you know, beyond the work that it's doing on Warkworth, as I understand it at this stage, is not due to have anything else happening. I mean, is there the possibility of looking to these other cities and saying, hey, we saw what you did there, can we lease that or borrow that, or what was the lesson there? George Street, I do remember there was some controversy. I think they did also have disruption to business, and did they go to a one-way system as well?
One way on part of it. They've got bollards at both ends, so if you wanted to have an event, you could chose off a big chunk of it.
Bollards at both ends. What a great idea. What a great idea to be able to easily shut a street.
But you talk to the Dunedin City Council and you talk to their contractors. What did you learn from this? What could we, if we were going to do it, what would we do better? Sharing information is the key.
Okay, that's really interesting to hear. Also, I understand there was removal of car parking in that project, and there was the one lane possibly was the most controversial thing.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see it? We could, so I guess, do you see that there's a way to do this where you still incorporate the elements you're looking for while providing what the local businesses on the street would be wanting to retain or would expect here?
If they can see the benefit of it, then they will, I think you'll get them on side to do it. But if they go, we're just going to get the same old and it doesn't improve it, but if you can make that street a destination and they go, we've got to park out, like you would walk a lot further in Dunedin, and to be fair, it's a lot hillier than it is in Hamilton, but the result is really good. It's not they didn't half do it, they fully did it.
Okay, well that's really interesting to hear, so thank you very much. It sounds like maybe it's a trip over summer to go check it out. Okay, thank you very much.
Sarah. Mayor Paula?
Just two quick additional questions. Hear you about the behaviour, we've already been addressing that. Retail though, what's happening in retail, because I know that nationally across the country there's a big slump to retail. Lots of stores closing in lots of places, lots of empty shops in Wellington also. What's happening with our retail here? Are we mirroring that? Are we doing that with the national trend?
So just to also clarify, the retail, in terms of the retail occupancy survey, that is ground floor tenancy, not just the retail sector, but when looking just at the retail sector, certainly the conversations that I have had, and I'm still awaiting the CBD spend stats for quarter two, But the conversations I've had have been around the fact that it's probably the worst that they've known it to be.
We've seen business, you know, we saw Torpedo 7, we've seen, you know, Kitchen and things went up. This is a whole lot, and we're going to see more. We saw Smith City. These are massive retailers that have been around for a hell of a long time. One of the fortunate things I see about CBD is we're not reliant on those major players. We've got a lot of really cool independent businesses, and they're actually the backbone of the CBD. Having those in there, yeah, we do look at, you know, you do look at Centre Place, and that's a really poor example of what a mall should be. Again, my personal view. So everybody has a responsibility. You know, we talked about developers are doing stuff. Council has a responsibility. Kiwi and TGH have a responsibility. And if everybody does their bit, we're going to end up with an amazing city.
To support the growth.
Support the growth. And support retail.
Well, that's right. So one of the things that you've argued for in the past has been high-end retail, you know, boutique-y type of retail or high street type retail, isn't it? Where you get that point of difference for the CBD. You would still see that kind of attraction as a part of.
I think you'll see a greater attraction. Again, everybody doing their bit and it being so broad, we're going to see more and more businesses want to be here. You know, we've seen a few businesses. We saw Vodafone or One New Zealand move out of the mall. We'd rather than be on strip retail. That's really good. That's saying we're doing something right.
Just in terms of the streetscape, in your view, is there any opportunity for partnership with developers and others? Because that's how George Street happened and also Napier.
I suppose if I was a developer, I'm going, what do I currently get for my DCs? And what do I currently get for my rates? I'm paying a lot of money in rates. What am I actually getting for my money? Because there hasn't been outwardly, and the public would say, you know, in those upgrades. I mean, I think a developer would always look at a partnership. It's interesting. There was a building redeveloped in the CBD currently, and I went past and said, I said to the developer, I said, great, you've got a whole new footpath. I said, that's awesome. Council did that. He said, no. He said it was easier, faster, and cheaper for me to do it myself. And it was literally done, and you wouldn't even know about it. That's, to me, a sad indictment that they go, it's just easier, ask for forgiveness rather than permission. You want to work with them, and I think you want that opportunity to work with them.
Yeah, and I'm talking more about the nicer elements rather than just the pavement. But I get what you're saying. I'm just asking, do you think there's opportunities for developers?
Sort of wrap this up a little bit now.
Do you think there's opportunities for developers to lean into some of that urban design in a partnership sense?
So that's your final question?
That's my final question.
Yeah. If they have input.
There is a willingness.
There is a willingness. Absolutely, there's willingness.
And I know, just looking even at Edwards White and the work that they've done recently and previously around Garden Place. So, I mean, I certainly think that there is
Thank you, Mr Chair. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Colleagues, item 8 has been moved by Councillor Emma and seconded by Councillor Tim. We'll open it up for debate. What's that?
Me?
Well, the mover of the motion.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No, you moved it. You move it. You speak.
Yeah. Look, what's been captured in just a few slides of development just cannot be understated. They're not just buildings, they're providing income for families. It's a fresh look, it's supporting tourists and visitors, and ultimately it's people and vibrancy in the CBD, which is so desperately needed. So I just want to thank, firstly, the developers, in particular Stark and Foster's, for example, have given endlessly to make these happen. Their dedication goes beyond profit and at huge risk, and we're just so fortunate to have them be part of our city. But I also want to thank Mike and Vanessa and the CBD Association for your role in bringing this together and bringing businesses together. You're the voice and the advocate for the city, and there's just so many businesses that we hear that have been close to losing in the CBD, and you've been that voice in the ear, encouraging them and supporting them to stay. And these aren't always easy conversations, and we appreciate your work and your advocacy and commitment to keeping Hamilton CBD a destination. So thank you very much. These are, of course, supported by our team, Matt, Arif, Nick, Mike, all our staff are having conversations behind the scenes as well, keeping interest in the city and understanding the needs of the the businesses. I think council has a lot of work to do. It's clear that there's some gaps on our side in terms of our streetscapes, in terms of how we can support our developers and the businesses as well. So I look forward to, hopefully in the next term, us turning our mind to how we can work closer with them and get some vibrancy back into the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Emma. I'll go online and then Councillor Anna, followed by the Mayor Paula.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa and Mike. A great presentation and great conversation. And just to acknowledge your ideas around pedestrianisation, I think that's really exciting. And I've certainly had a number of conversations recently about that. And a tour we did just this past weekend with Living Streets, going past Hood Street and noticing they've actually got retractable bollards right there. So, yeah, you know, maybe closing streets and trialling pedestrianisation is actually quite achievable. So, yeah, I'm just grateful for the positive energy you've brought to Chambers this morning and the ideas. So, thank you very much.
Mayor Paula.
Thank you. Hopefully I can read my notes. Looks like a rat's gone across the paper. First of all, noting that it is a hard time in retail areas and commercial areas at the moment in New Zealand, and just noting that we shouldn't be surprised that our retail are doing it tough, because retail are doing it tough everywhere, and so are some parts of the hospitality sector. However, I think we're all on board with trying to uplift our CBD. That council has shown that time and again with its recent conversations, that we do lean into the CBD and we do want to address the issues that make people feel uncomfortable and also create the opportunities to make our city look better. I am interested in the opportunity to do things in partnership because we have a limited budget. George Street is excellent. It also cost a huge amount of money, and you will need to ask yourself what's happening to rates in that part of the town as well. So there is always a balance to be struck. I'm really heartened by the commercial development. The examples that we were given were absolutely amazing. So that is just a brilliant thing for Hamilton City. I'm interested, however, in having further conversations, or I would be, but it won't be me, it'll be the next council, with groups of developers that are looking into the residential area to see how we can get both a mixture of affordable smaller apartments and high-end apartments. Shame about the theatre not being able to open till after Christmas, because I think that will be a really big pivotal point for changing the CBD. Sorry that I can't be with you when you have your group coming to talk about Garden Place shortly. I would have really loved to hear those ideas. And the other thing is basically good, well done on the Main Street Awards. Well done for what you do on a fairly small budget to reach so many businesses. And you're absolutely right, to finish on a positive points, we do have some of the best quality developers in the country, and all credit to them for their drive.
Thank you. Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to dwell on Mike's example of the footpath improvement, where it's easier for the landlord to do it themselves. I'd love to see Hamilton City Council be a facilitator, not necessarily the developer and having to front up with the money for that. And I'd like the retailers and landlords to know that they can come to us with ideas and we can let it happen.
I agree. Councillor Tim, and then followed by Councillor Sarah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to echo the comments of previous speakers who have all highlighted certain things that I think we can all agree on. I too want to thank Mike and Vanessa for the very constructive and positive presentation you've given us today. I love the fact that that's always your approach, and you do radiate energy and enthusiasm for the CBD, and long may you continue to do so. Because revitalising the CBD is essential, as you've said, there are things that are deeply worrying to all of us and that are having a very detrimental effect, particularly on visitor numbers and the experience that many of our residents in the vicinity and those who come into town are having. But there is so much good with the new regional theatre and the new hotels, the medical centre and the fitness centre that you highlighted in your presentation. So we need to keep emphasising the positive, but not ignore the challenges. So let's just continue to work together. I really thank you for the leadership, the constructive part you play in that discussion. Whoever's around the table after October, I just encourage us as an entity to continue working with you, because together we can make the improvements that we all want.
I've got Councillor Sarah, followed by Councillor Cash.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Vanessa and Mike, for being here this morning presenting and for a really constructive report. I also want to acknowledge what you've raised around the streetscape. Right now, the council is tidying up what we have, but the next step does need to be making some more significant changes in the central city to create a destination that people really want to come to and spend time in. My concern is that with any changes that we even start to consider, that needs to be done in close partnership with the business community here in the city, to ensure that whatever changes we agree on, we have really strong support behind them. There ultimately is a cost to larger streetscape improvements, and also there's disruption that comes along with that. So I think it's a conversation that I would look forward to having in the new term, but certainly something that we need very strong input on and support for from the local central city business community before we go any further on it.
Thank you, Councillor Sarah. Councillor Cash.
Thank you. I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank HCBA and Vanessa in particular. Over my 6 years, I've valued our relationship, and I know Vanessa is a really good sounding board in terms of, are we on the right track? What are you thinking about this? And just your honesty, I've really appreciated it, so thank you. In terms of where to from here, we all know how many millions of dollars are going to be invested in our central city in infrastructure projects in the coming years, and to see the fruit of all of that come to bear, we need to get a few other things right, which is what we've heard again this morning. Is it the antisocial behavior, the safety stuff, the streetscapes, the how do we make it more vibrant, our lighting. We've had various conversations over the years, and I really hope that the next council is brave and bold and courageous to have the conversations about Garden Place and actually do something, because we've all tried, some of us more than others, and it hasn't gotten us very far. I think it took council itself, it took us a while to work out just where places like Garden Place actually fell within the organization. It used to sit with roading and infrastructure, and then community had something to do with it, and it was all over the place, but I'm really glad to see that now it has a home, and we've got staff who are dedicated to Garden Place. So the structure, the framework is there, and now we just need the funding, the resourcing, and the vision to actually make it happen. So yeah, thank you for your work and your passion in this area.
Excellent. Look, I intend to add my voice of thanks to Vanessa. I think actually Kesh's word of description of brave and bold of the next council, I think that actually describes you, Vanessa. I think over the last 3 years, you are fearless. You will come into this chamber and you'll shoot straight. And sometimes I'm delighted at what you say, and frequently I'm not so delighted. But I don't want that to stop, because in fact, you are the advocate. You do need to be that independent fearless advocate that walks in this door and challenges us, because it's too easy if we ignore the voices that challenge us. We should embrace those voices. So I thank you. When I look at the CBD, I think Hamilton has a huge opportunity, because what we've got can be improved. I think it's also very polarising, because it drives an ideology. There are those who say we need to address the issue of homelessness and we need to do it immediately and with some vigour and strength, and others go, oh, it's a complicated issue, multiple issues, mostly controlled by national government, we've got to go softly. Meanwhile, businesses are finding it hard to make the decisions of setting up in the CBD because they want safety. They want safety first. And I agree that streetscape is part of that. But what really is important is having a destination where the public feel really happy to come to. And that will be the most important challenge going forward. And council has to be brave and actually make some tough decisions. The other comment I would make is we are lucky about our developers. We are lucky, the Blair Currys and the Matt Starks. But I also say we're also very lucky that we're slowly beginning to attract national and multinational developers. And I look at the Templeton Group, and although I hear people say, oh, it's not about what's coming and what may be built, we need to say what we've got, I say actually, when it comes to building a 30-floor high-rise hotel with apartments, that does take time. They are the types of players. So it's the two together. Good local developers mixed with some national players will help elevate Hamilton. So it's been moved by Councillor Emma, seconded by Councillor Tim. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against?
Carried unanimously.
Excellent. Moving on to item 9, strategic update. Mike Bennett. And Arif, welcome. We're in your hands.
Thank you, Chair. We'll take the report as read and add a few comments. I think the GM really spoke really well about how we're positioned and some of the opportunities that we have. I think for me, I'll just add briefly that in the 6 years that I've been here, actually to the day, where this committee has come from, Mayor Paula reinvigorating it, and then you and your constant presence over that time, but acknowledging as well past chair and new deputy chair. But then all of the things generally coming to a head where we are as a city, all the different things that report into this committee and our small place in it as the actual economic development program. There's just so much opportunity, and we've laid the groundwork, and really in the 3 areas that the GM covered around those deep relationships. I think Councillor Jeff, you hit the nail on the head with that, and using that as a foundational position to do all the different things that we've done. But then early this year, adding Martin, who's actually in a meeting for us that we can't attend, you know, taking that out and telling the stories and making it happen, and then the role that I've stepped into around trying to lead from a regional perspective, our place among our peers. Those 3 pillars and where we sit really bring so many opportunities to continue the momentum into the next triennium with everyone who will be here around the table. So thank you, personally, Ewan, for the last 6 years. It's been really fun, and I look forward to continuing it with the new council. I'll just let Arif make a few brief comments as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors. Similarly, it's 3 years for me coming on with council. So it felt appropriate just to quickly note, you know, what I've seen across the 300 plus meetings that I have had over the last 3 years. One thing always stands out is that rhetoric aside, the businesses here really value being in Hamilton, and they have a lot of positive things to say about it. They're open about the issues, but all that aside, they're quite proud to be in Hamilton. And you know, looking back, while those early conversations were marked with tension, with uncertainty about council as a whole, today they're built on trust and openness, and quite proud of both for the businesses to be open to that, but then also the work we've done as a team. Now, looking ahead, that relationship that we have with businesses, the work we've put in, gives us a really solid foundation for the program moving forward. And then all the responses we've heard about the work we've already done this year with Martin coming on board, winning from the Waikato, the Hamilton project, all of those things just really highlights that the potential that we have to communicate our value proposition to the world, whether it's here or to the world, is really strong, and sort of really proud to be part of the team and part to be doing all that work. So hopefully we can carry that on. Thank you.
Just through the chair, just before they take questions, Mike, do you want to just talk about the prospectus, the Hamilton prospectus, which is very close, isn't it? So.
Yes, so really the physical manifestation of if you were to sit down with someone, sort of that proverbial why Hamilton, but really the question is not just our city, it's our region and our economy, and as Blair mentioned, that economic power of 400,000 people, of 26.5 million GDP, really broadening the view to tell our story that's uniquely ours as Hamilton and the city, but also what we mean and how we intersect, and the potential upsides for a business. You know, the work of RF highlights all the time. You know, the strength of being a business here is you can recruit and retain talent, and the lifestyle options they have, all the positives, I think sometimes get lost in the wash of the minutia of this thing or that thing. So that this document that we're preparing is something we've been doing in fits and starts for much longer than I think the chair would like. But I think where it's gotten us to, in my earlier comment, is the time is perfect right now. We can tell stories about things that are tangible, that you can see, as opposed to several years ago that might have just been on the horizon and just coming up. So our intent in the coming months and years is to really push hard on that physical, documented story of why this is an unbelievable place for businesses to be and all that comes with it. So I'm hoping to have something pre-election. It might spill over with timing with the designer, but regardless, I think those here now and those who will be here moving forward, I think we welcome that energy. Really, it's designed not just for us, but everybody, people like Mike Neal, who's really passionate about Central City, or other developers, to go out and spread the good word about what we really think is a special place in the country.
Wonderful. Colleagues, I'm opening it up for questions of Mike and Arif on this first part. You've done such a wonderful job. It doesn't. Oh, Councillor Maria.
Just a quick question. Thank you for all your mahi this year. 300 hui over 3 years and 6 years to the day. Congratulations. My question is about the prospectus, and I'm sure you're all over it. But are you working alongside someone that can help you with the distinct cultural narrative that has a strong economic story to tell in it as well?
We have. So our initial goal on this particular document is to stay high level on our value proposition, but we importantly have a portion to talk about our past, our present, and our future, and weaving through some of that narrative. We've been working with Amarangi Maori as well as the comms team, just to make sure that the perspective and the narrative and the language and the approach is grounded in something that is open and accessible. But that's to say, I think this document to me is a starting point. I envision supplementary documents that specifically focus on things perhaps like the Maori economy. What does that mean? You know, so I think short answer is yes. I think longer answer is there's so much more that we can do in this space through that lens that we'll be embracing.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. I don't have any other questions. Thank you. Tiki, we've missed you. She's back.
Morena Council, lovely to be back after a small hiatus. Overall, I'll take the report as read, but just a couple of observations, I guess. It is a really tough time out there. There are so many economic struggles and headwinds that our business community and our whānau and our whole community and our country are facing at the moment. And we can't ignore that at all. But there's some good stuff happening too. We've got more businesses than we've ever had before. Despite the number that we see closing, there are more that are opening and starting in Hamilton, which really speaks to the story that Mike and Arif are talking about around Hamilton being a great place to do business. We've got more tourism expenditure, we've had more guest nights, so more people are coming to Hamilton and they're spending money, and that's helped along by the great things that our H3 team are doing. So there's really good stuff happening in Hamilton, and there's some good stuff that Council was supporting to happen in Hamilton. On top of that, our latest June data that's come out, there are some glimmers of hope that things are starting to look better. And look better for Hamilton. So we're seeing an increase in retail spending. We are seeing increases in employment to an extent, but just in the June quarter, it is really tough, and our young people in particular are struggling. We're seeing more house sales, and house sales are really key to driving development and demand for housing. So there are little green shoots out there. It's still not great, and when you look at it on an annual basis, there's still a lot of negative indicators out there. But there's hope. We do have some new projections that you will get a preview of in next week's exec update, but we will release them formally with the quarterly economic report at the end of this month. Overall, it is not as good a picture. Economic growth is down. House prices are expected to be flatter for longer. And all of these things kind of feed into our consenting picture as well. So I'll leave it there, but if you have any questions, happy to take them.
Colleagues, I'll open it up for questions. Mayor Paula.
Looking at the economic forecasts, some of the where the inflation is up. I've heard from economists that we're looking at like 2027, late 26, 27 to see that full return to a more buoyant. Is that what you're hearing from the people that you deal with?
Yes, so they're expecting, broadly speaking, September is expected to be closer to 3% or on 3%. So that's the top of where the Reserve Bank wants it. And then it's going to slowly come down, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, so businesses who are facing all these increased costs, civil construction's a little bit less, a little bit softer, but still really big. They can expect some pain for a further year and a half, potentially.
It's more consumer prices at the moment. Civil construction, residential construction is actually at the lowest point that it's been for a long time. But consumer prices, they are the ones that are going up. We're seeing increases in a lot of food. We are seeing increases in rates, insurance, like all of these core costs that people can't escape from. And that's really pushing up consumer inflation.
So I saw inflation at 2.7, and then you had the bullet point that consumer price index is higher than the capital goods price index. Do you have a figure on CPI?
I think it's it's about 0.7, I believe, off the top of my head.
Thanks.
But it's significantly lower.
Cool, thank you.
Councillor Andrew.
Thank you. Net migration figures for the year down hugely. Is that impacting Hamilton? And do we have any sort of internal migration figures for how the city is growing?
Our internal migration figures come out in October, the official release. So I would expect that, because Hamilton gets a lot of international migration, So that will have a factor, and it will mean we won't grow as much next year. It also means that demand for things like housing, but also growth that we've experienced because our population's been growing, demand for all of our things have been growing. So that will taper off, and it will come more down to existing residents and what they buy or spend or want.
Thank you. Councillor Max.
Thank you. I worry about the unemployment. Hamilton higher than the Waikato, higher than New Zealand quite considerably. Is there any particular sector that we notice that unemployment through, or is there, are we at the bottom of the curve? Give us some bit more insight into that.
So unemployment in Hamilton has always been higher than the national rate. Part of that is because of the age of our population, and unemployment is typically higher among younger people. And as you move into an economic downturn, unemployment for younger people grows faster. So that kind of combination tends to lend Hamilton to having a higher unemployment rate. And the other part is just being a city. Cities generally tend to have higher levels of unemployment than rural towns where people might be involved in, you know, live and work in the same sort of place. So that does tend to lend itself to that.
And do we do any work with the university, the Wintec, the Wananga, to be able to match skills with, you know, known areas? I'm thinking waters, because, boy, is there ever going to be a demand for that kind of work?
So Mike is involved with the Ministry of Education, who has a wider connection program there. And a recent announcement around tertiary education is setting up a board that specifically does that, and making sure that our local providers are working with businesses and industry to actually deliver the skill shortages that they are experiencing. So there's some really good stuff underway and some good things that will hopefully come and move forward that has industry talking with education providers to seal that gap, because you're absolutely right.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Mayor Paula again.
Before I ask my question through you, Mr Chair, just to alert Council to the fact that I sit on the Wintec Strategic Advisory Board. The group that Mike goes to is one subset of that, but just to make it quite clear that I am promoting the workplace gaps that we see from a local government perspective, which is one of the reasons I'm being put in that group. And we met with Minister Penny Simmons last week, and it was a really good meeting and identified what the opportunities in the Waikato, and she's quite well aware, Max, just around the water, the civil construction engineering and those kind of careers as a way forward. But we do have one of the highest levels of NEETs as well. So that's really something that the government's focused on reducing, if that's helpful. Sorry, but I thought it was worth saying. Just one question, super quick question. I noticed the retirement villages, there was none last year, no consents. Is this because of the general slump in construction, or are we reaching a kind of are we reaching peak point of the retirement villages? Because there's quite a few, is my question. Are we getting to the end?
I think there are more to come.
There are more.
One of the challenges for retirement villages is their value is linked to property prices. So when property prices go down, all of a sudden their ability to leverage money, essentially, or to get money to do development is hindered. And the broader retirement sector has felt that. We have had one consent through recently for 30 retirement village units. So it's there, and I think it will come back as house prices get a little bit of momentum behind them to help their portfolio, but also to help people who are maybe looking to move into a retirement village, but they want to sell their home for enough that they have a few dollars in their pocket when they get into the retirement village, because that helps to support their living. And at the moment, those numbers just don't stack up. because the existing houses are just not getting the amount of money that they need to do that.
People should stop living longer too. They want them not
Also a
to, don't
problem.
they?
Thank you.
That's
I
how they make
move
money.
the recommendation on item 9. Oh, yes, and Sean, okay. And I'm sure it will be seconded by Councillor Jeff. Oh, no, that's perfect. Sean, do you want to come up and wrap up item 9 for us? Thanks, Tiki.
Thank you, Chair. I did speak largely to the year-end results for the Destination Group, destination operations at the last meeting, but we've now got our formal numbers and reports through. You all have seen that we've actually had a very good revenue year across the board. H3 in particular had a revenue of $9.6 million, which if you normalise it against the FIFA event, is a record for that operation, driven primarily or heavily through Claudeland. So that was up 2.4 million on our original budget, which was, we thought at the time, was a little bit nerve-wracking for us. But so we've had an outstanding year on that front. I would, however, say that you normally hear me say that our forward book is looking really good for H3 or for Claudelands in particular, and right now it is. And we think we've got a good year ahead of us. But, and I say but, we are in a very competitive world, and we have had a situation where we've found that one of our big new competitors that's about to launch on the market is actually very aggressively targeting our business. And we have lost a couple of bookings. It's not enough for us to change our forecasting just yet, but it is enough to make us nervous about the competition we're about to face over the next 12 months, without a doubt. And that, so we're bracing for that and we're responding to it, and we'll keep you posted, but I do want to be upfront with you about that, that little concern I have. One thing I did want to draw your attention to on page 96 of the report, and I'll speak to it so you don't have to necessarily go to it, we have the financials for the Hamilton Zoo. And although it's mentioned in there, I just think it's important to highlight the fact that the revenue for the zoo through admissions and so forth was really strong this year. We've had great growth, and it was up $670,000 for the year, which we're very, very pleased with. But if you look at our financial reporting, because there's a capital revenue adjustment in there, it actually depreciates it and sort of makes the report look pretty bad. But in actual fact, the capital revenue relates to money that is coming into from other external sources for the predator fencing program, and we moved the start of that program into the current financial year we're in now. So I'm just wanting to highlight that, just so you're sort of clear. The zoo has actually had a very, very good trading year. It's just an accounting treatment that's pushing that result down, and obviously that capital revenue will come into this coming year's budget. So with that, I don't have much else to report that I haven't already said. I was certainly interested to listen to the HCBA discussion earlier on. One of the things that we've had recently in some conferences with central government have been participating in is related to economic development and the visitor industry, which is part of the portfolio that I have with HWT and some of the major event activities. A few months ago, I attended an event in the Beehive where two ministers of the Crown pushed really hard that the view of the current government is that the core economic drivers to New Zealand's return to economic strength is broadly based the rural sector and everything that spins from that that's around us, obviously. And the second was the visitor industry. They saw those two sectors as being the primary drivers for a return to economic growth for the country. At a conference last week that I attended, and Mayor Paula was also there, the Minister of Tourism talked very strongly about the value of the visitor industry, its importance to the New Zealand economy, the government's target to actually have the visitor industry return to being the #1 export revenue earner, or the number one sector. And they signalled, and she signalled, that they are going to be doing a number of initiatives, funded initiatives, to really give the industry a bit of a kickstart. And major events were a big part of that. And they're going to be making some announcement of partnership opportunities in the major events area shortly, and also a little bit about one of our key markets, and some impetus work they're doing there will come out, will be news maybe tomorrow. However, she said in her presentation that local government has to step up in this front as well, on the visitor industry and the major events industry. So if we as central government are going to step up, you need to step up with us. And I hope you don't mind me, Paula, but we did a bit of a texting thing, and we have actually gone to, just so you know, gone back through MB and so forth, and the Mayor through the Minister, and said, well, that's great, but can you really clarify that, because we are getting mixed signals. We have councils around us who have been shrinking back from their partnership with us in promoting the visitor industry and all the benefits that come from it. We ourselves have shrunk back our investment in events, or generation of events, and ability to serve them. So we need a clear picture, and I just signal that because it is quite a serious point for us to think about going forward. So I just want to be upfront with you that we're grappling with the mixed signals that we're getting at the moment, and that's something that's been raised forward. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions, Chair.
All right, thank you. I have a question, and then I've got the Deputy Mayor. Just looking on page 89, the total loss for H3, the group was 20,600,000. Every few years I ask you roughly the same question, Sean. Do you have a figure of the economic benefit the economy enjoys as a result of all of the stuff that goes on at H3? I'm trying to have an elevator pitch that I can say to the ratepayer, look, the $20 million loss, it's painful, but it's worth X, Y, and Z to the broader economy. And each time you tell me, it takes a lot of money to do those calculations. So as a final attempt to get an answer from you after 24 years, here's your chance. Can you give me an estimate of the economic uplift for that investment?
Well, Chair, I failed you once again. We have not done that calculation. We have done calculations based on individual conferences, major conferences, smaller conferences, sporting events, and so forth. If you are looking for the visitation figures that we enjoy, and the numbers that are out there, and there are different numbers in different centres around the country that are used as benchmarks, but around $300 for every visitor to the city is the sort of figure that tends to be used. We have probably around just over 500,000 people that we look after, and probably of that around, my estimate would be at least 50% of those are from out of town. So I could just do that. I could get my calculator and do a quick thing, but we don't have a good scientific thing. One of the things that, as I've said before, I'm always wary of this figure because it can be misused or misinterpreted, but it is certainly significant in terms of the business that it had. What I'd love to hear from, though, is all of those downstream suppliers and all those poor people that are employed through H3 alone, as a result of our activities. And if you think about the multiplier, it's quite big. If you think about our catering company, and they probably earn more off our business than we earn ourselves at a gross level. But they've now been able to become a national operator as a result of what grew here from the Hamilton base And so we can steer to those examples, but I don't have that answer for you, Chair.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. My question is just, my ears perked up when you mentioned, of course, the zoo. I just want assurance that that capital treatment, General Manager, that you talked about won't diminish the revenue reward target that I put in for the LTP. So that that target is measured on the end of the financial year. The zoo achieved X amount over their revenue budget, they get 20%.
Yeah, correct.
Not everybody else dive into that first.
No, they won't. That capital revenue won't be part of the equation. It's a weird accounting treatment, unfortunately, and I tried to get out of it. And failed. But they won't impact on the targets at all.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
The three items of the report, we've heard from Mike and RF, we've heard from Tiki, and we've heard from Sean at H3. I've moved, seconded by the Mayor, the motion on page 68. I'll quickly open my debate by saying I think the next council needs to embrace and support Mike and his team in fleshing out more of the benefit of the Māori economy, because it is a giant opportunity that needs some real focus. And so I'd send a clear message saying, have a look under that plant, because there's an opportunity here, and we need to be working hand in glove to leverage that. I also agree with Tiki that there are a number of green shoots that are showing that there are opportunities and future growth coming, despite the fact that we know, and there is no doubt, we're in a very challenging financial time. One of the things that I would point to is, in fact, how low and how there is considerable benefit in construction currently. Actually, building things in Hamilton have become slightly cheaper. So I think we'll see more and more companies who are umming and ahhing going, maybe the time is right to do a little bit of building and development here. So I think that will come. And my final comment, and I say it every time coming up to an election when people jump up and say, oh gosh, look at H3, the amount of money it loses, you're looking at it the wrong way. It may appear that owning stadiums and zoos and convention centres are a bad investment. Well, my first point is we can't undo what we've done. We've got those. The second thing is, when you take the much broader economic analysis, it is good for the city to have those, even though you may see a paper loss of $20-odd million per year. So don't fall into that trap. They are critical economic enablers. That was all I wanted to say. Mayor Paula.
Thank you. I'm going to support your comments in general. Definitely need to think about those matters that you've highlighted. I just wanted to, Sean just about took my whole debate points away with his report, which is good. I did want to talk about the importance of the events sector as part of the economy, just because I was fortunate enough to be speaking at the NZEA conference that was hosted here in Hamilton. And it was quite clear from the address of the Minister, followed by the address of MB, that they see tourism and events, well, events as the way to get tourists in, let's put it that way, and that they see that as one of New Zealand's blooming sectors that they want to tap into. I think Minister Upston described it as wanting to make events our #1 export. I think those were her exact words at one point. And what was really interesting, though, is, and Sean's right, the competition is fierce. I saw that in the awards on the night. We are seeing many parts of New Zealand creatively using their venues for a repurpose. In fact, what was the name of there was a theatre in Christchurch that hosted one of those glass boxes for squash, and it was an amazing event, an award-winning event. What we need to be really mindful of is the government's only going to fund mega events because I suppose they've only got so much money to go around. And they're talking really mega. They're talking about your sailing, your Rugby World Cups, your Triathlon New Zealand, not the other events. But what they did say is that those are the big rocks, that there are smaller rocks, and then Minister Upston had described it as sand, the smaller events, and making the point that all events of whatever size or nature add to the ecosystem of events that make New Zealand attractive to come to. My concern is we aren't being able to, in Hamilton, pitch as well as we should, despite the good work, one sentence please, Ewan, despite the good work of H3 because they are a little constrained. And I urge Council not to undermine our events funding in the next term, but to consider it as an economic enabler and see how we can support H3 be even more competitive in what is a very fierce New Zealand market. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Angela.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair, and echo your sentiments. I think we also need to keep in mind that given we aren't a city that offers significant cash incentives to grab events, we punch well above our weight. We should be really proud of that, of the work of the H3 team under the leadership of the General Manager, because we are competing with cities that will throw 100, 200, 300,000 at events to attract them, whereas we basically do this through the skin of our teeth. We do it through our excellent standard of facilities, our excellent standard of support from staff, and we do it in creative other ways. So we are punching well above our weight. Some years ago actually, we sought not to become a tourist city. I don't think we're ever going to be a tourist city, and I don't think we want to be. We wanted to focus on the visitor economy, and I think that's stronger because visitors will visit us more regularly. They'll come from Bay of Plenty, they'll come from Auckland, they'll come from Palmerston North if they want a weekend away, and they'll do that more frequently, and they'll tell their friends and family. And with the three Te Kararoa and the gardens and the museum, again, we're punching well above our weight, and I encourage the next council coming in to continue that trajectory and continue to support, because the Chair, you're right, this is providing economic development, not just for our residents with jobs, but for visitors coming in as well. And I think that the carrying on with a visitor destination economy is something that I think it differentiates us between us and a tourism location that you may only visit once. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so I will put the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against?
Carried unanimously.
Now, colleagues, we've got two more to go. Item 10, which is the strategic property update, we've got Nicholas, and then I'll immediately after that just go to the resolution to exclude the public, and we'll break for morning tea. And then I'm hoping we'll plough through the rest of the agenda after morning tea, and we'll be well out of here before 1 o'clock. And we've got Professor Quidley as well. Okay, so Nicholas, thank you very much. We're in your hands.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will aid in the brevity of this item by saying that I'll make two brief statements and then take any questions. So in terms of the two items in this report, Tristram Street, the bridge housing Hinamo development is going ahead well. They poured the first concrete slab for building B, which is the smaller of the two buildings on site, on Monday. You may have noticed that they're starting to advertise and market the units. So they are offering 33 of the 42 on the market. The 9 are being held in reserve, and they are currently in negotiation with a prominent, much respected community housing provider for a leasing arrangement on 9 of those units. And of the 33 on the market, 1 has already been sold. So the first drawdown of your MEF loan to facilitate this has been made, and those will continue over the next 12 months or so. In terms of Area Q, the Rototuna development, I think I reported last time that the developer has increased their yield from 67 units to 72, so that's an increase of about 7.4%. The design looks stunning, very much a design-led kind of development. It will be very much an exemplar of this kind of thing if and when it is completed. And the developer is currently in pre-application discussions with the Planning Guidance Unit, who are looking to take a slightly different approach to the processing of this consent as a sort of test, if you like. Mr. Kettle would be able to tell you more about the detail of that, but effectively a much more streamlined approach, working much more closely with the developer leading up to the application for consent. On that, happy to take any questions.
That's great news. Colleagues, opening it up for questions. If there are no questions, I will move the recommendation on page 113, seconded by Maxine. I'll open it up for debate. Any debate? I'll just quickly say how delighted I am and how grateful I am to my colleagues in the MEF and my broader colleagues in Council for the support of the Bridge Housing Trust. Concrete's poured, we're getting some affordable housing. We can say, well, we can pat ourselves a little bit on the back for that. And that's the MEF working at its best. Right, all those in favour say aye. Those against?
Carried unanimously.
Excellent, those have. And I'll move the exclusion of the public, seconded by Councillor Louise. All those in favour say aye. Those against?
Carried unanimously.
Morning to everyone. And the amazing Amy and team has made chocolate cake and date scones. Amy, who was the one who made the date scones?
Keely.
Keely. That was just a tough negotiation, but it happened. And they look delightful. Please enjoy them. And we're coming back, Amy?
11:40.
11:40, there we go.